everybody. Welcome to That Expert Show. I'm Anna Canzano. I am so excited that you are joining me on this journey. We are launching the very first episode here. This is a brand new idea where I wanted to talk with experts and I wanted your help in contributing to the show, helping me with ideas and questions for the experts, and we can even do that live. So if you're watching that live, feel free to chime in with your questions and comments. We'll be talking about money today with one of the nation's top consumer finance experts. I am grateful for you, and I'm also grateful for the support of Shoe Mill, which is this amazing company, a multi-generational family business right here in Oregon. If you need shoes, think Shoe Mill first because they seriously have the best shoes and the best service. I'll give you a promo code for them if you stick around at the end of the show, a fantastic discount. But today, as I've mentioned to you on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot, we are talking with one of the nation's top consumer finance experts. And it's because, a lot of us, I've made mistakes with money, like that credit card that I signed up for in college was a terrible idea. I am certainly no expert when it comes to money, and I would love to know what kind of mistakes I should avoid when it comes to money. So this woman, you might have seen her work in U.S. News and World Report. She is a contributor, a writer to creditcards.com, and she has also authored the groundbreaking book, Expecting Money, the essential financial plan for new and growing families. She is also the mother of a teenage daughter, so she has that perspective for us as well. We'll be talking about credit cards with her, planning for college, budgeting. Maybe we'll even ask her how to plan for Christmas and how not to break the bank when it comes to Christmas shopping, because hello, again, something else that I'm prone to do. So I'm so excited to bring her to you. She is joining us live via Skype from San Francisco today, Erica Sandberg. Erica, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting.
It is very exciting, and I'm really sweaty and nervous, and I'm really glad that you can't see or smell that. So I'm just grateful that you're with
You're
us,
good.
and grateful that you're with us for this inaugural show. I wanted to jump right in because we've got questions from people who have submitted questions in advance. They knew that we would be talking to a consumer finance expert. We've had expert insiders who are chiming in, and also people have been posting questions on Facebook. They, in particular, have a lot of questions about credit cards. We had several people write in and wonder whether there are any drawbacks to moving money around between credit cards, especially, when they offer that attractive 0% introductory rate. They wanted to know if there are any drawbacks besides that 3% transaction fee.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in general, they're a great idea, but you do have to use them in just the right way because that fee is significant. If you move $5,000 over and it's a 3% fee, you're going to be looking at $150 that just right off the bat is going to be added to that balance. So it's something to think about. It's definitely not minor. But regarding the other drawbacks, and there are some drawbacks, just know in the back of your mind that you are going to have a credit card that once had a big balance on it with a high APR, now has no balance. So that means it's going to go back down to zero. And what do you have? You've got this amount of money now that you can spend once again. And it feels like an income. It's going to feel, you're going to feel free. Like, oh my gosh, okay, I used to have a $5,000 balance on it. Now it's at zero. Now I can charge it up again. And plenty of people do. It is psychologically, it's got this sense of almost excitement, like, okay, I've got this balance on this other new card, but here I have this fresh open line that I can use. So it's definitely something to think about and to tuck it away because you don't want to get into another round of debt.
Oh, that's completely something that I have done in the past. To guilty as charged, absolutely. We have some other
And actually,
questions.
there's something else to consider is that when you do one of these balance transfer offers, and they can be great, 0% for 12 months or 18 months, you are also going to have an inquiry on your credit report, and that may take your credit score down a little bit. So do them judiciously. prudently every once in a long while, but it really shouldn't be a case where you're just doing them all the time, because you will actually reduce your credit scores after a while.
That is really, really good advice. We also have some other questions for you. A lot of questions that came in on Facebook. For example, Denise, Anita, and Aaron all wanted to know about college savings plans through those state-funded programs. Are those college savings plans really worth it, or are you better off with that money somewhere else? For example, Denise is hearing that you actually lose money because of those fees. And Aaron in particular wants to know if there are certain states with better college savings plans than others.
Okay, so regarding saving for college, it's almost like, let's just put it this way. If you save for your child's college education, you're already in a good place. So just be happy that you're doing it, that you're setting aside money. The different types of college savings vehicles that are available, there are a few. And the state plans can be wonderful, but they also can be limiting, and they can have high fees. So it's definitely something to consider. What I would do, so important, is that if this is not your field, this is not your area of expertise, don't just wait for somebody like me, just who can give you an answer in 1 minute to say this is what you need to do. You must meet with a financial planner, because that person will analyze your state, what's going on with your personal finances, how much you have to invest, and just the whole spectrum of choices that are out there. Because yes, the fees can add up, can erode how much money you have for your child's education, but you really have got to have one-on-one advice. It really is that important, because you want every single dollar working for you in the best way. And those fees absolutely can add up. And you're going to need to explore, is it better in Missouri? Is it better in California? Where are my options really going to be best for me and my child? Because college is crazy expensive. And if you can start early and you can start with the best plan available, you really are doing yourself a great service.
Well, and that brings us to another point. And this question is from an expert show insider who wants to know, how can a young professional, and I guess you can tailor this question to a young professional or to really anybody, like a family, middle, class income family, how does someone find a good financial advisor? Because it feels like so many are focused on selling certain investments.
Absolutely. And it's such an important question, because when you do hire somebody, and this is going to be somebody that you actively pursue, a person who you're essentially you're interviewing this person, because they're going to be working for you. Um, don't just go for the first one that you see. So first of all, the Financial Planning Association is an amazing member organization. You can start there, and you can find somebody who's local. If you want to meet face to face, you can also work with somebody online. But that's a great organization to start with, because you're going to have certified financial planners. There's two basic directions you're going to go in. The first one is somebody who works for a specific bank. It could be Bank of the West, it could be Wells Fargo, but they're really representing their own products. Or it could be, whatever bank or financial institution has hired them, and they can be wonderful. But if you want an objective service, somebody who's going to really take a look at all of your options in their entirety, and is going to give you, oh, look, you can go in this direction with this mutual fund and this with another, a fee-based financial planner is for you. So that means they are going to charge you. So it can't be, it's an outlay, it's something that you're going to be paying for, like a lawyer. They're going to charge, but at the same time, you're charging for they're charging for a service that you're going to use. So fee-based is great. It could be anywhere from $75 an hour on up to $300. So look for somebody who's within your budget. And the Financial Planning Association is a great place to start, to find somebody who's within that realm. But also ask your friends, ask your family members, somebody who you trust. Hey, who do you work with? Do you like that person? Very, very important. That financial planner has got to listen to you and to tailor their suggestions to your situation. So many people are cookie cutter. This is where you go. This is where you put your money. This is some estate planning. You've got to get the sense that that person is listening. And strangely enough, that could be really rare. So go with your gut. Are they just giving you bland cookie cutter advice, or have they really taken a look at you or at your individual situation?
And that's an interesting point because I mean, I guess I have this preconceived notion that a lot of financial planners won't even talk to you unless you have a certain amount of equity. Like, are there financial planners who are willing to talk with you if you're not some wealthy person with like this huge, set of properties that they can manage and a bunch of equity or mutual funds that they can already sort through for you?
Absolutely. And there are some, if you do get that sense that you're not high net worth enough, say bye-bye. This is not for you. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to share with the story. The very first time I wanted to invest some money and I needed some financial advice, I was a bartender way back when, and I had amassed a decent sum of money. And I looked like a bartender. I was not exactly professional. I was young. I was, a little bit scrappy, but I had some cash. And I was like, well, what do I do with this?
Right.
So all I did was I walked into a branch, a Charles Schwab branch, and I said, can anybody help me? And the first person who I spoke with kind of took a once over and said, and just kind of gave me this sort of lukewarm response.
Mm-hmm.
It showed me to some brochures. So angry. I
Ouch.
thought, what, what on earth? You just basically showed me the door. So if that is the response that you're getting, you're kind of getting this feeling like, maybe you're not the right fit for them. Trust me, you're not the right fit for them, and they're not the right fit for you.
Interesting. Okay. We have some questions as well on Facebook about budgeting. Sean and Emily have some questions. Emily wants to know, how do you save money when you literally have none left over at the end of the month and you already live as simplistically as possible? Are there certain areas to think about cutting spending that, you might not have thought about before?
This is so great because I think we get very stuck in these areas. Like, I've already budgeted and I can't work anymore. And now what? I'm supposed to save on what? With what? My first suggestion would be start taking inventory of the things that you have around you, because a lot of times we do amass property, assets, things that we would like to purge. You could have some electronics, an old iPad, an old cell phone that's just sitting around in a drawer, that if you sell it online could be worth $150. It could be worth even more than that. But it's not just that. Some old furniture, some clothes, I don't care what it is, some sports equipment. I
Mm-hmm.
play hockey. I've got a bunch of hockey stuff. Start taking a look around you in your home, your garage, your yard, and start thinking, what can I purge? What can I sell? And once you do, what do you have? You got some cash. With that cash, you walk it over to the bank, over to the ATM, you plunk it in, and you have your very first savings account that you can start to build on. So it's just a really nice way. You don't have to budget and you don't have to earn more. So you can start off that way. It's really nice. And you also get to clear out some stuff too, which is really cool.
Well, and that brings up a good point. I'll get back to Sean's question later because he had a question about budgeting, which I think so many of us can relate to. But there was a question that came in from an expert show insider. With interest rates so low and bank service fees so high, what is the point of keeping a savings account as a bank? What is a wiser investment, perhaps? Or I mean, this person was saying, should I just keep my savings in cash on hand, hidden away at home, like under a mattress? Because, the savings accounts, like we all know, the interest rate on those is just not great these days.
Yeah, don't count on earning anything through a savings account. It's just not going to happen. Even the best. There's some good. There's one. Oh, what was it? Oh, it slipped my mind. Marcus, I think, has 1%, which is really phenomenal. 1%. I mean, what are you going to make? You're not going to make anything. So don't consider it an opportunity to earn money with your savings. Not in the beginning. Not until you have accumulated at least a few thousand, 10,000 or more. It's just not going to be a money making operation. It's a saving experience. That's the exciting part. So just gonna get all that stuff out of your mind. That's not the point. But having it under your mattress or tucked in a drawer, there's some benefits and there are some drawbacks. Certainly the benefit to that is that it's on hand. You can actually see it, you could feel it. I love that tangible quality.
Hmm.
Look, I see nothing wrong with counting your pennies and counting your dollars and going in and holding it in your hand. It's exciting. That's really great. But there's also the temptation to use it. If you have a fire or something happens into your place, it's going to be gone. So there's a certain level of risk, but when you tuck it into your bank, into a savings account, it feels more real. It's separate, which is really great. I would definitely recommend not having it attached to your checking account where you can shift it back and forth,
Oh,
because when you run short, you just may draw from it. Really easy to do.
that's pretty much what everybody does. It's like you have,
No, I know.
one account at a
Yeah,
bank
so
and,
what you
you
can do
know,
instead, you can have a money market account, and that's where you save it. And
okay.
then, again, it starts to feel more real. The same thing goes, though, you're not going to be making really anything in investment earnings. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I guess so that brings up another question from an expert show insider who wanted to know, would it be better, like if they're working someplace where there's an employer that offers a 401k either with or without a match, is it better to contribute to that 401k or is it better to pay down some credit card debt?
Yes. So the advantage of having an employer-sponsored retirement plan, especially when they do kick in some money for you as you're doing it, is that you're getting some free funds from your employer. Who would walk away from free money? Don't do that. So if that's the case, definitely take advantage of it. Start early and start doing. You're going to be making regular contributions. They're going to come off the top. You won't see it. You won't feel it. It's fabulous. The problem is that if you are carrying some high interest rate credit card debt,
Hmm.
that is such a drain on your finances. So you have to weigh, and each situation is different. But in general, if you're over the age of 35, contributing to your employer sponsored plan is the way to go no matter what. Eventually, you're going to be retiring and you're going to be very grateful that you have that cash set aside, because trust me, Social Security income is not going to cut it. So that's really, really important. Under the age of 35, you have some more room to play, especially if you're under the age of 30. Get rid of that credit card debt, and then you can start investing for your future, for your retirement.
These are really interesting benchmarks to think about. So 30 and 35 are the key kind of milestone ages to really start planning and growing up, essentially, is what you're saying.
I have to say the only caveat to that would be is if the interest rates on your credit cards just happen to be really low. So we go back to that situation with the if you do get that 0% APR and you're enjoying that wonderful grace period where there's no finance charges being added, then I would say that's great. Hold on to that, pay it off within that time frame, and really kick in money to your retirement account.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, we have another question about budgets. This one is from Sean. This was again from Facebook, and I wanted to go back to it because I think it's very relatable. He says the idea is basic. The idea of budgeting is basic. It seems easy, but the execution is not. We've longed for someone to help us set budgets and have a plan to successfully stay within them to save money. And any help there, he says, would be rad. Rad.
Okay, I'm a visual person, Sean. So and I encourage people to look at this in a visual kind of way as well. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes. I want you actually, no, this is almost important to keep your eyes open, because I want you to imagine driving a car. If you're driving a car, you're holding onto your steering wheel, right? And you've got a destination in mind, which is you want to get from point A to point B. That's your budget. So here you are, you're driving along. You're the one who's totally in control. So imagine yourself as being the driver of your budget car. That means that you don't kind of go wildly in one direction into the next, right? Stay controlled. You're trying to get to where you want to be. So when you think about that, when it comes to money, that means always being aware of your surroundings. You go into a store, you're not going to overbuy because you want to get to where you want to be. So it's the same thing with anything, is stay focused. Stay focused on what you want. And then you start to become kind of really strong, right? You start to feel excited, where you're able to say, look, it's not it's not within my budget to go to Hawaii this year. It just doesn't make sound financial sense. Ooh, suddenly you've got that wheel and you're going in the right direction. That's exciting. Start giving yourself some pats on the back because of that, because you're making the right decisions. You're not driving your car into the ditch, because when you spend too much, that's exactly what you're doing. You are careening all over the place, which is exactly what you don't want to do. So kind of start with that feeling of like, okay, I've got a certain amount of money to work with on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And with it, I'm going to do what I want with it. And you start to feel in control, which is exactly what you want. So you're more able to say, this is not for me. This is for me. This is I have $300 to spend at the supermarket this week. That's what I'm going to spend. And you really do feel good at the end of that experience. Like, yeah, I did it. I not only did it this week, I'm going to do it next week.
Yeah.
And where it starts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think so much when we're talking about debt, there's a real psychological impact to debt. When you're sitting, it's like an anvil on your back. You
It
can
is.
not think about it, you can pretend like it's not there, but in the end, you might not even know like how it's kind of messing with your mind and limiting the choices that you have in life and kind of the long-term health effects of debt. That's always something that's intrigued me because I've obviously been there in life where I've charged up credit cards and not felt great about it. And it was a period of time in my life, probably in my 20s and early 30s, where I did not feel great about myself because in the back of my mind, you know that you've got all of these liabilities under your belt, and it's not a healthy feeling.
It really isn't. And everybody wants to walk around feeling free and capable and strong. And holding on to credit card debt does the exact opposite. So when you think about that and you start thinking about your budget, you're giving yourself freedom. It can feel restrictive. You're like, okay, well, because of my budget, I have to only spend a certain amount of money. But you think about it the opposite. This is the flip opposite of that, which is, oh, actually, I'm more in control, right?
Hmm.
I don't have this behind me. And you're right, it feels like an anvil on your chest. It feels sick. Go ahead and make a mistake, because when you make a mistake, you will you will really get that feeling of, yeah, I don't want to do this again. And the average American, the average American who does have a balance on their credit cards and carries it over from one month to the next, it's $9,000 on up. So that's a lot of money to have behind you that you've already spent and that you're now repaying.
Right, and it's so much more than that 9,000 that's on the credit card bill. We have some folks who are chiming in to this live broadcast on Facebook, and they're actually commenting live during the show right now. Patrick says that he's a 56-year-old living with no retirement and basically living paycheck to paycheck. So, do you have any advice for somebody of his age and his situation as far as basically how to get by?
Yeah, paycheck to paycheck it's a rotten feeling. It is what a lot of people are experiencing right now. Hopefully so there's nothing in retirement, it sounds like. Start now. Can you work a little bit more? I know this sounds crazy, but go start capitalizing on your skills, or on whatever it is that you want to do, for even an activity. Can you walk dogs? Can you tutor somebody? Can you add in a little bit of extra income into your life? So if you're paycheck to paycheck, means there's not a whole lot in your budget where you can whittle down usually. Start adding in. Is there anything else that can be a money making operation for you? Um, I'm willing to do just about anything. So go ahead and start, do just about anything, as long as it's within your capability and in your situation. And if you can put a budget down, go ahead and do that. See if there's anything that you can reduce. I just got my cable bill down, took a phone call, and it went from $150 a month to 75. That's significant.
Hmm.
That's $75 more than I had before. So look at all the key areas in your life that maybe with as little as a phone call, you can take down even a little bit.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because there was another question from Cindy on Facebook, and she wanted to know if there was legitimate work from home jobs and really how to find them. She's retired after 45 years and she's disabled, but she would still like to do something, and obviously the money would help. I think it's kind of in line with what you were saying. But how do
Mm,
you find these legitimate work at home? Because there's obviously a lot of non-legitimate shady work at home schemes, and how do you know?
I would absolutely capitalize on your skills. So, for example, if you took violin lessons all your life, and now you actually have that as what you do. You can play the violin. Go ahead and give some lessons to a child. I mean, that would be within your home. See if you can do something like that. There's TaskRabbit. There's the gig economy. You can if there's a bookkeeping. There's all different types of things that you would be wise to explore as a means of bringing in some spare cash. Um, Put an ad on Craigslist or on Nextdoor.com. A lot of communities have Nextdoor.com, and say, "Hey, I'm willing to do some editing, some book editing. Maybe you're really good at something like that." Um, think about what you're good at and what you're capable of giving back, and also making some money from. It could be walking dogs. It could be babysitting. It could be all different types of things, but it's something that works for you and that will actually work to your financial benefit as well. I am not opposed to anything that brings in money and that makes you feel more financially secure. Hey, and it gives you something really fun to do as well. So you can meet new people. You
Yeah,
can have a whole new spectrum of friends from which to choose. So don't just sit there and do nothing.
yeah.
Think about all the different things that you have that can benefit somebody else. My daughter is 15. We just hired a math tutor for her. He's $120 an hour.
Oh,
So there are opportunities out there. Explore what they are.
I hope she's doing really well at math now.
Right? I know.
Hope that's worth the investment. Speaking of kids,
Even the least expensive. We know people who are paying $200 an
oh,
hour. So yeah,
so
there's
painful.
all different opportunities out there. Of course, they have to be legit. You've got to vet. Be careful.
Yeah.
That's a given.
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode because
It is.
this idea of like mompreneurs and all the money
Yeah,
that people have to spend when they're starting up these work at home schemes. And, some of them are legit and some of them are not. And I would love to sort through that sometime with somebody who's been through that path. Speaking of
yeah.
kids, we've got a lot of questions from parents. Great questions from parents. This gal is an expert show insider and wants to know, says her son is a senior in college. How should he begin the habit of saving money from that very first paycheck, and how should he begin building credit?
Yeah. Well, that's so exciting to me because savings is one of these things that if you don't have that love inside of you, you can develop that love. So most kids, when they're little, they get that thrill when their parents give them an allowance or they make a little money, and they've got a little pot of gold, right? And they start sucking away like little squirrels. Most kids really do like that. It's something that at a very early age you can really inspire in your child. But if they haven't gotten it yet, that's great. A senior in high school, you start talking about all the different things that your child can do with their money. It's very goal oriented. Do they want to take a big trip at the end of their senior year? If so, this is your opportunity to shine. Start saving money. Well, whatever it is that he wants to do, take care of kids, read to kids, rake leaves, I don't care what it is. Start making some money and encourage him. As I say, I like the tangible aspect when it comes to money. He makes $20 an hour or $10 an hour, whatever it is, right? Hold on to those dollar bills and start saving it in increments. Once you get to $100, right? Walk it over to the bank, slip it to the ATM, and deposit it there. I really love apps. Venmo is great. Bank of America app is really great, and start using those as a way to immediately get those funds into a savings account. It's really fun. I promise you, it's really fun to watch that money build.
Yes.
And it's really at his age, older, younger. They love that. You get to see it. Oh, it's
Right.
$100. Oh, now it's 300. Now it's 500. You really do get this sense of I'm doing something positive,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm working towards something that's going to improve my life, and it's going to be, you start, it's a thrill. What can I say? It's
Yeah.
uh, most kids really do enjoy it, and the whole credit thing. If you trust him, you can add him as an authorized user to your credit card account. Almost all credit card issuers allow this, and he will start to have his credit report will have your account on it. And as long as you treat that account really well, his credit score will improve and it will go up and up and up, and everything will be great. So it's a really great way of doing it. And if it turns out that he does use that card, because he has a card, and he's not behaving well, you can revoke it at any time. And when you do, that card will also be taken off of his credit report, and it won't appear any longer.
That's
So
really interesting.
it's
I didn't
just
know
a
that.
really great
So
way to start out.
you can add, once your kid hits a certain age, what is it, 18 or 21, or what is the age limit for adding them onto your credit card
13
account?
in some cases.
At 14?
13, 14, 16. It depends on the credit issuer, but usually it's in that age range. So they don't have to be an adult. They can be as young as 13 or 14.
And then you can add them onto your account and basically help them start to build their credit as a 13 or 14-year-old?
As soon as it's the card holder. So every card holder, let's just say that you have a couple of different kids, right? So you've got a credit card, and you can share your credit card with your children, with anybody really, and you could just call the credit card issuer and say, I've got these people I want to add to my account. And by the way, if it's a new account, that means that you can probably get some bonus points that you can use for your rewards, which is really
Right.
nice. It's usually 5,000
Mm-hmm.
extra rewards points per authorized user, as long as it's a new account. Um, but once you do, all those authorized users, that information is going to go on their credit report. So it's going to start to build their credit history. So it's just a way of jump starting their history of using credit. Even if they never use that card, your account is on their credit reports. So it's just going to show.
That is fascinating. I never would have thought of that. Okay, so that reminds
Yeah,
me of a
yeah.
question. This is my own question. You see so many offers for those cashback rewards programs, and pay $75 to be an Alaska Airlines mileage person. And then when I go to Costco, Costco says you can, get 2% or 4% cash back or whatever with their credit cards. Are those cash back? I get that mileage rewards, you get something out of that, even though it seems to take more and more miles now to actually
Mhm.
buy a plane ticket. But I get the concept of that at least. Those cash back programs are very popular, but do those actually work? Do they pay off in the long run?
They do. In fact, cashback cards are, I believe, right now the most popular. It's what most people are gravitating toward. They're great as long as you keep your balance to zero. What are you doing? You're making some money. So it really, I mean, just think about it. How you spend $1,000, it's a 1% reward, and that's on the low end. $10 in your pocket. I mean, really, it's the easiest thing in the world. And over time, you can really start to make some money. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you don't carry a balance, and as long as you're not using the card thinking, well, I'm going to earn some points, and then you start overspending.
Hmm.
Last thing that you want to do. So you want to stay in budget, and you want to pay off your cards on time, every time, in full. And then, yes, of course, you make money, and they're wonderful. So I really definitely encourage you to take a look at the full spectrum of the cards that are available, whether it's cashback or rewards. Love rewards cards, love them. They're great. Then you start earning points for different things like travel and hotels and all kinds of things. But really, you do need to get the right card for you. So go onto a site like creditcards.com and take a look at all the different offers that are out there. The one that comes to you in the mail, that's the tip of the iceberg. Don't just go for that one, because there's so many more.
Ah, yes, that's good advice. And I appreciate you that you talk about the psychology of purchasing and going into debt, because so much of it is up here in your head, like your perceived sense of wealth versus what you actually have. Let's talk about retirement a little bit. I know we touched on it earlier, but we have a lot of insider questions about retirement. For example, when should younger professionals, like 40 years or younger, plan to retire? Should they be planning it to work until they're 65, 70, or 75? And They're also asking how much should be saved for retirement by age 40, for example.
I wish I could give a flat answer to this, but
That's a
it
hard
really
one.
is individual. And I loathe any answer that begins with, well, it depends. But I hate to say it, but it does depend. When you choose to retire is when you choose to retire. I happen to love my job. I really hope I can work until I can. So everyone's different. If you do have this goal where you're like, you know what, I kind of want to stop working and I want to start traveling or play rounds of golf at the age of 65, that's your date. That's your cutoff time. So that's when you want to think, well, okay, so if it's 65, and I may live to 100, you've got a lot of years where you're going to need to have enough money where it's going to make sense for you to do that. So that's when I really start to funnel people into a really great financial planner who can say, well, look, you make $65,000 a year. You can set aside, X amount of money on a monthly basis, and here's how much money it's going to in a wise investment vehicle, how much it's going to end up being at the end of 25 years from now. So it's so dependent on how much you have to save, what kind of investment vehicles you're in, and then your end time. So it kind of like, what is it that you want? Go talk to your financial planner because they're going to help you. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Go ahead online. There's so many great online calculators that are going to help you with that. So go ahead, go get a retirement calculator and think, okay, well, if I want to invest, if I want to leave my job at 65 with $2 million in the bank, this is what it's going to cost me.
Right.
This is how I'm going to do it. And it can kind of give you this big wash of reality, like, okay, well, that means I'll have to set aside $2,000 every month.
Yeah.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
So
you got to chart a
you
path
have
to
to
it.
be realistic with it. But I love a good online calculator. It's a great start. So there are plenty. There are just plenty. And the Financial Planning Association does have one. There are others. Every good investment company will have one as well. So start just looking at the numbers because they will guide you in that right direction.
The Financial Planning Association. Okay, we'll definitely include those in the show notes and kind of the bonus materials after the show. We like to provide people a tip sheet, kind of summarizing the points that the key points that you're making during the interview. Erica, we also have a lot of questions regarding mortgages and refinancing. Jim, who is chiming in right now live on Facebook, says that he's looking to refi their house again to draw some cash out. A lot of questions about this. What strategies do you have when it comes to refinancing the home and pulling that cash out, and what that cash should be used for? Or is this a complete no-no? Is it ever a good idea?
I will never say something is a complete no-no, or at least very rarely. If you take the cash out and you're going to do something wise with it, maybe you want to invest in a new business or in a new piece of property, right? Then you're leveraging your money. Love it. That is fabulous. Now, if you're going to fritter it away and do something stupid with it, like, for example, go gamble, not a good idea. So it really depends on what it is that you want to do with that money. No, a lot of people do use it to pay down credit card debt. That is super, super common. So if you're going to do that, really weigh those numbers, right? It can work out to your advantage, but of course you're adding years to the life of your mortgage. Can you afford to do that? Are you going to be okay with that? I'm okay. I'm good with that because credit card debt can be ridiculously expensive. You've got, let's just say that you owe $20,000 and the interest rate is in that 25% mark, and you can refinance your home and you can get a phenomenal deal. This is money. This is your cash. These are your assets to draw from. It can work out to your advantage. I'm not opposed to that. So just you have to be wise about it, and you have to think, well, is it for a vacation? Something that I don't necessarily need? I wouldn't do that. So just think long and hard about it.
Right. We have another question coming in on Facebook, someone who's watching live. Doug wants to know about setting up a trust. It sounds like he's interested in setting up a trust for his children and their children eventually. This may be a hard one to answer without knowing more specifics, but maybe you can offer some percentages. He wants to know how much should be in a trust. If he's going and doing the work of setting up a trust for his family and extended family members, what parameters does he need to be thinking about?
Well, this is really the an estate planning question. I to guide you in the right direction with something like this, obviously an estate planner or a financial planner is going to be the right person to speak with. Um, there are some ways of looking at this, which is when you have a trust, you're locking that money in. It's in a separate it's a separate entity, right? So essentially, you're taking it from your pool of assets and you're creating a whole new entity that your child or your heirs are going to be able to draw from at a certain age. And it's nice and safe, and you get to set the rules, and you're actually in control this way, which is really great. You can dictate what age the person has to be when they start drawing funds from it, which is wonderful. I'm a big fan of taking a look at something like LegalZoom, and which has all the paperwork that you could do on your own, and you can start to plan on your own. But this is an estate planning question. Go get the advice from somebody who's really, really good at this, and can guide you on a very individual basis, because it's so delicate, and you want to make sure it's done in just the right way. You can really protect your assets and make sure that your heirs are well prepared.
All right. Erica, I'm going to ask one last question, and this has to do with credit cards. And I don't know if this, again, is one of those questions that's too general, but it's from an Expert Show insider who wants to know the best source for getting credit card interest rates lowered. Is there such a thing?
Makes me happy. I love that question. Yeah, it's called the phone. I would really encourage anybody, if you've made your payments on time and your debt load isn't too high, the best way is to jump on the phone, call customer service, ask to speak with a representative or a supervisor who can help you reduce your interest rates. The worst thing that can happen is they say no, right? They're going to stick with that 22%, and that's what all they're going to do for you. That's the worst thing that can happen. The best thing that can happen is they'll lower it in 5 seconds. So it never hurt. It's not going to hurt your credit. It's going to be great for you if they say yes. If they happen to say no, remember, if your credit history is good and your credit rating is fine, you can always shift the balance to another product that is more than willing to take you into their family, and you can do that. But yes, start with your current credit card issuer. Ask to see what they will do for you. And if you want to kind of sweeten the deal a little bit, just say, I'm actually exploring balance transfer offers, right? What are they? Any card issuer wants to keep you as a customer,
Right.
especially if you've been a really good card holder. So kind of throw that in, like, hey, I've been with you for 15 years, 10 years, 5 years. I'd love to stay with you. What will you do for me?
Right. That's a
And
two-way relationship. You
you're going to say,
sometimes forget
I can
about
lower
that.
that interest for you.
Very good. Awesome. Well, Erica, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your insight. You've had some great ideas, some great strategies for viewers to take with us. And again, we'll be offering a summation of your key points in the bonus materials on our website after this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thanks to everybody out there, and treat your money well. It'll treat you well.
Treat your money well. Good advice. And thank you for being with us for this inaugural episode of That Expert Show. Thank you for joining us live if you are watching on Facebook. We are also on various social media accounts on Twitter and on Instagram at That Expert Show. So give us a follow if you are on Twitter and Instagram. And look, I know life is busy. I know that sometimes it's not easy to catch things live. So if you wanted to come back and watch this later at your leisure, we'll be putting an edited version of this interview on YouTube. We'll also be putting this out on podcast formats on Apple iTunes or Google Play, wherever you listen to your podcast. So you can just kind of listen to the show and take in this knowledge as you're driving around, picking up the kids, or doing whatever you do in your busy day. Wanted to remind you the best way to connect directly to the show, become an Expert Show Insider. Text the word show to 474747. That's on your phone. So the number you'll be texting to is 474747. You text the word show, and that's how you become an Expert Show Insider. And hey, the deal that I mentioned about Shoe Mill, you can find a link to the Shoe Mill offer in the show notes or description of this episode. This is a great company that I first got to know through my husband John and his radio show, Shoe Mill. The folks there have constantly supported the nonprofit that John and I founded to help kids in our area. So it was just kind of natural that they would be the first sponsors of this inaugural show. They are awesome. They have the best shoes, they have unmatched service, and I really think that you will find something that you love if you go to a Shoe Mill, because I do. It really is a terrific experience going into this family-run store as well as shopping at shoemill.com. Thank you so much for joining us for this inaugural episode. I hope that you will stay with us in this journey. It's been great taking your questions and getting your thoughts. And that's it for this episode, I guess, of That Expert Show. We'll see you next time on That Expert Show, where you help run the show.